Think about your drive to work today, or maybe the building you're sitting in right now. Whether you're designing a towering multi-story high-rise, an automotive chassis, or a massive suspension bridge, you are fundamentally trusting human lives to steel. But how do we actually quantify that trust? How do we know for absolutely sure that the steel holding our modern world together won't just buckle, snap, or shatter under immense pressure? Well, we rely on a highly rigorous physical exam for steel. We're going to dive into an explainer of this exact standard, ASTM A370.
So what exactly is ASTM A370? At its core, it's an internationally recognized, completely comprehensive standard dedicated entirely to the mechanical testing of steel products. And you know the stakes here are absolutely astronomical. Whether we're talking about the aerospace industry, automotive manufacturing, or gigantic construction projects, catastrophic failure is avoided precisely because this single document dictates exactly how we evaluate these materials. It basically provides a rock-solid, universally understood baseline for researchers, engineers, and quality assurance teams all around the globe. Okay, let's dive into this. To break down this massive standard, we'll cover the rulebook for steel, the tensile test explained, bend and hardness testing, Charpy impact testing, and finally wrap up with special rules and annexes.
Starting off with Section 1, the rulebook for steel. We just need to navigate some of the jargon and orientation first.
Right. So, before we can start bending and breaking metal in a laboratory, we really have to understand the specific language and the overarching rules that ASTM A370 lays out. If you look at the wider ASTM standards catalog, it's honestly very easy to get confused by the alphabet soup of designations. But there's a very simple key to remember. The A in standards like A370 stands for ferrous metals, meaning iron and steel materials. Now contrast that with the E standards you might see referenced, like ASTM E8 or E18. The E standards focus on general test methods and practices across all sorts of various materials. So A370 is our specific steel playbook, but it frequently references those E standards for the more general testing procedures.
And this concept brilliantly illustrates one of the most absolutely crucial ideas in material testing, orientation. See, metals aren't just uniform blobs. They're not the same in every direction, especially after they've been rolled out or forged. A longitudinal test specimen is cut parallel to the direction the steel was extended during rolling. Think of it like cutting with the grain of a piece of wood. A transverse specimen, on the other hand, is cut at a right angle or perpendicular to that extension. The standard basically requires us to know exactly which way the grain of the steel is running, because the material will handle stress very, very differently depending on how you pull or bend it. But what if you aren't testing a nice, neat, flat sheet of steel? Say you were testing a massive circular forging, like a giant turbine rotor or a drive shaft. Well, for these, A370 defines specific concentric locations for testing. We have what are called radial tests, where the specimen is perpendicular to the axis, running right along the radius, kind of like the spoke of a wheel. And then we have tangential tests, where the specimen sits perpendicular to a plane containing the axis, essentially forming a tangent line to the circle. Knowing exactly where and how a sample was cut is honestly just as important as the test itself. Moving right along to Section 2, the tensile test explained. This is really the star of the standard. That brings us to arguably the biggest focus of the entire ASTM A370 standard. When we subject a carefully prepared specimen to a constantly increasing measured load until it literally breaks in half, we're looking for 4 specific vital metrics. First up is the elastic modulus. That's basically how well the metal resists elastic or temporary deformation. Second is the yield point. This is the exact moment the metal stops stretching like a rubber band and undergoes permanent plastic deformation. Third is tensile strength, which is the absolute maximum mechanical stress it can handle before completely failing. And finally, the strain at break, which tells us how much the metal can stretch and deform before it finally snaps. So the crucial point is that these 4 metrics entirely dictate material selection for safety out in the real world. Now, to get accurate readings, you can't just hook up any random chunk of metal to a machine and start pulling. You need a highly standardized geometry, like the standard rectangular tension test specimen. It kind of looks like a dog bone, right? Notice how it's wide at the ends where the machine grips it, but it actually tapers to a reduced cross-section right at the mid-length. This is totally intentional. The design ensures a uniform distribution of stress and forces the fracture to happen right in that narrow gauge zone. We're literally engineering a predictable failure just so we can measure it perfectly. Now, I mentioned earlier that A370 frequently aligns with that general E8 standard for tensile testing. They are incredibly similar, for sure, but there's a quirky little trap for the unwary tester when it comes to the metric system. When making the smallest flat subsize specimens, the metric translation in ASTM A370 calls for a width of exactly 6.25 millimeters. But ASTM E8, it calls for 6.0 millimeters. Talk about splitting hairs, right? It's a tiny fraction of a millimeter, but in the world of high-stakes metallurgy, details exactly like this dictate whether a test is standard compliant or completely 100% invalid. All right, on to Section 3, bend and hardness testing. Let's look at ductility and resistance to penetration. We aren't just pulling metals apart, though. Sometimes we really need to see how they handle different types of physical abuse. The flexure, or bend test, is remarkably straightforward, but incredibly revealing. It's a tried-and-true method for evaluating the ductility of a metal. We simply take a specimen and bend it to a defined angle around a very specific internal diameter. We are essentially asking the steel, will you bend or will you break? The outcome of that relies heavily on the metal's chemical composition, its overall hardness, and its cross-section. Then we have hardness testing. This measures a material's resistance to penetration by a geometric object. A370 outlines a few different methods. You've got Rockwell, which is ideal for hardened steels. You've got Brinell for softer metals, which uses larger indentations. And you've got portable testers for giant immovable workpieces. Now, what's really interesting about these methods is their secondary purpose. Hardness testing actually serves as a remarkably accurate, incredibly fast approximation for overall tensile strength. Think about it. When a piece of steel is already built into a bridge, you can't exactly chop a piece out to do a direct tensile test, right? But a portable hardness test can give you a highly reliable estimate of its strength right there on the spot. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds into Sharpie impact testing, simulating sudden dynamic loads. So far, the tensile and flexure tests we've discussed apply loads slowly and statically. But real-world environments, they're full of sudden, violent shocks. That is exactly where the Sharpie test comes in. It's a highly dynamic method where a heavy pendulum swings down and literally smashes into a specifically notched specimen of steel. From that one impact, we measure how much energy the steel absorbed, the percentage of shear fracture to see exactly how it broke, and the lateral expansion to measure physical deformation. This test is absolutely vital because it reveals the exact temperature at which a metal transitions from being safely ductile and bendable to dangerously brittle and prone to shattering like glass. If you're building an oil rig in the freezing Arctic, this is the test that ensures your steel can take a sudden impact without cracking into pieces. Finally, Section 5, Special Rules and Annexes, Adapting Tests for Specific Products. As we noted earlier, the world isn't just made of neat, flat, rectangular specimens. The standard actually includes 5 unique annexes to modify our core tests for actual, complex, everyday products. Annex 1 alters flexure tests for bar products based on how they were rolled. Annex 2 is for tubular products, think pipes, requiring unique ring tensile and crush tests to simulate internal pressure. Annex 3 focuses on fasteners, like nuts and bolts, testing their proof loads to ensure they won't just shear off while holding a building together. Annex 4 deals with the tricky gripping required for round wire. And Annex 5 lays out highly nuanced conditions for testing the impact resistance of advanced high-strength steels. These annexes are what ensure that every single component performs safely under real-world conditions. So, what does this all mean for you? I'll leave you with this final thought. Think back to those structures and vehicles we talked about at the very beginning of this explainer. How many A370 tested steel components literally held them together today? The bolts in your car's engine, the structural steel in the bridges you crossed, the rebar inside the concrete beneath your feet, they are all governed by the rigorous, totally invisible rules of this incredible standard. It's just a fascinating reminder that the safety of our physical world relies entirely on the careful, relentless science of testing. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep questioning the world around you.